All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are so excited to be here for our Nonprofit Enthusiast Live, closing out the new year with this Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. We're just so excited to be here. Um, Before we get started, if you have any friends you'd like to invite, today we're going to be talking about mentorship and the value of emotional intelligence for nonprofit leaders. If you have any friends that your nonprofit friends, nonprofit leaders that you'd like to invite, please take a moment now, invite them to our group first, and then tag them into this live. In order for them to be able to see this live, they have to be into our group. So please do that now. But before we get started, while we wait on others to join, I'm going to play these videos to introduce our very special team member, and then we'll kick off today's live.
Community development. I think one of the great things that Mr. Toliver was able to provide me is seeing those things. He was able to talk through, all right, what are some of the programmatic things that we're trying to achieve as our objectives, our learning objectives, our outcomes, and then kind of thinking about and walking through from an action planning standpoint. And it was remarkable how he did it, making sure we connect the dots. I can't tell you enough how great and brilliant his mind, but most importantly, is his heart. Love you, Doc. Y'all, he's the truth. Trust me.
All right, all right. And we have one more video from a very special person. And I know and I believe, okay, I see in the comments, sorry, you all can't hear. Okay, I see we can hear now. Okay, so hopefully you all will hear this next video. Please let me know if you can't. I told y'all, I've been getting better with this live. So I'm gonna try this again so you all can hear the next one. Please, I'll monitor the comments, drop them in the comments if you can't hear the next video. And let me try one more thing before I'm doing all of that. And thank you all for your patience. All right, hopefully you all will hear this next one.
Lasheena,
Mm-hmm.
there's no volume.
No sound? Oh no. All right, let me stop the video. All right, I stopped. I'm sorry, you all. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and drop those videos into the group or into this chat so you all can hear it. But pretty much, let me give you the gist of it. We had two very special people, and I can add on to this as well, introducing you all saw in the group that we introduced Mr. Joe Toliver as a member of our Nonprofit Enthusiast team. And they were just speaking about how amazing he is. And I also can attest to this. I've been fortunate to know Mr. Toliver since high school, y'all. So my journey in nonprofits started then, and interestingly, that's where our journey together started. So I am so honored just to have him on our team. This kicks off one of our first lives together with you all. I mean, I think you all are going to agree he brings a wealth of knowledge to the nonprofit community. And the topic today that we're going to talk about is mentorship and value of emotional intelligence for nonprofit leaders. And this topic hits home for me because I know the value of mentorship, and he served as one of my mentors throughout the years. So let's get into the topic. Again, I'll drop that video in. If you are just joining the group, joining this Facebook Live, please invite any of your friends into the group, and from there tag them so that they can catch what we're about to share. And then also before we get started, I want to take a moment and just recognize our sponsor for making this possible today, Complex 7. So Complex 7 is an online BMW parts and apparel store that provides products that combine quality performance with value pricing. You can check out our sponsor at www.complex7.com. All right, so let's see who we have before I hand it over to Mr. Toliver. So I see we have a few people. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Shelby. Hey, Dolly. Hi, Ganelle. Thank you for joining us. All right, so keep tagging, keep inviting people into the group. We're monitoring and letting people in so they can watch this. And then also, if you are catching this on replay, do hashtag replay for us. Okay, thank you. And we also dropped the videos in the chat box for you all. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Toliver, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. This is actually my first live ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't say anything. This is probably my third or fourth. So I'm fairly new myself.
So I don't feel so bad. All right. Well, I hope that I'll be able to come across and really talk about mentorship. It's something that I value. And not only I valued it so much, I mentored not only Lasheena when she was growing up in high school, but probably 9 other students who I still have contacts with now. And I'm talking all the way back in the early 90s. And it was just such a value, but I really couldn't teach mentorship without being mentored myself. And so I really worked hard to make sure that I had a mentor. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is really the value of mentorship across my career. I spent almost 27 years in the nonprofit industry. I'm not to say that I'm out of the industry now, but I did direct service for the first part of my career. And I evolved into leadership and management. And that evolution came because when I was at the bottom and doing direct service, I don't know if you necessarily call it the bottom, because I loved it. And that's what I wanted to do anyway. But when I served in that capacity, I realized that the people who were making the decisions for those young people and for those programming were people who had never experienced those types of situations in life and had never really worked in direct service. And so that's what gave me a mission to really get into leadership, because I wanted to be able to make better decisions for the people that I was serving and help my community grow by doing so. That is what spun me into leadership, but I knew that I didn't have everything that I needed to be a successful leader. And I was teaching a course to Lasheena, you may remember this, peer-to-peer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we would connect young people together based on not necessarily we were trying to combat this whole idea of if you have a young person and you put them around somebody else who was a bad influence, that bad influence would take off. Our concept was if you have a person who was doing halfway decent and you put them with somebody who was doing halfway decent, you might be able to make a match. You might be able to get them to see a bigger picture. And that was a type of mentorship that we call peer-to-peer. And so I wanted to engage in that, and I did. And I started looking for a mentorship, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about. But the value of that mentorship really did not resonate to me until I got to a position where I began to understand how emotional intelligence played a role in mentorship. It also played a significant role in leadership. And I think that's what we're going to kind of strive to kind of discuss today. And Lasheena, what are your thoughts? I mean, you've been in a leadership role and now you're an executive leader. How does that make you feel in terms of when you were just managing your way? Because sometimes leadership is innate. And I just wanted to throw that out at you and just kind of get a little feedback from you.
Well, I know one of the things is just as I kind of grew throughout the nonprofit field, I've been fortunate and blessed to have wonderful mentors. And because of that, I like to say that I give because someone gave to me. So right. Because of that, it's twofold. You know, I try to mentor others, and then right. Also I continue to tap on my mentors. And y'all, I mean, you know too, sometimes when I'm in a crunch, I pick up that phone just to have that security blanket. Because they even talk about that in general. Just when you have a support system, that you're more likely to take more risk because you know that someone is there for you or people are there for you. So with that, throughout my journey and the various leadership roles that I held, I've always had people in mentors in my corner that I can call on for different aspects of what I do. And it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel confident taking risks, knowing that if I fall or if I'm hanging on a thread, I could go call these, you know, my mentors and supports to kind of pull me back up.
Well, interesting enough, when I got into the nonprofit industry, there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. And I really found a hard time finding people that I could connect with that kind of saw the world and nonprofit and, you know, the community through the same lenses that I saw it through. So it was a real challenge in the beginning. I really had to dig deep to find mentors. Over the course of my career, I have had 3 mentors, and I was able to maintain those mentor relationships long past, you know, my career in nonprofit. And, you know, that's the uniqueness of it, because it goes back to that thing that I always say, you're not just networking, because that's the only reason I thought in the beginning mentorship was important, because it was about building up my network, connecting with other people. I didn't realize that the value would really be that I was going to get to grow. And emotional intelligence, in terms of how we look at it, it's not just about us, right? It's not about how we deal with things. It's not about how we manage our own emotions and behaviors, but it's our ability to have empathy and look at others and the people who we work with and the people that we're supposed to lead and help guide their emotions and behaviors based on your knowledge. That's how leadership and emotional intelligence entangle with each other. And that's the value, how mentorship helped me realize that and helped me grow my own leadership skills. My first mentor was strictly by the book. It was paperwork, it was homework, it was things of that nature. But my second mentor came into the play. It really was about digging deep, right? Looking at ourselves. And I encourage anybody on the Facebook Live now, and the reason I like to have this conversation maybe in December, it's a great time, because this is a time to really reflect, right? To kind of take a look at your own professional growth and where you want to be. I selected mentors in the beginning just based on network. But after my second and third choice was much more deeper, I started looking at people in places where I wanted to see myself in and doing things who were doing things that I wanted to do. And those were the people, and I saw them successful. And those were the people I began looking towards in terms of who I wanted to mentor me. And my first mentor was a county guy, because my whole thought was I wanted to be a grant maker. I wanted to make grants. So my first mentor was a guy who had worked in the county for 30 years. And he gave me the homework. I would do all the homework, and I learned something, but it really was about meeting who he knew too, as well. And so that was my first experience with mentorship. It gave me an idea. Unfortunately, the mentorship wasn't as dynamic as I thought it would be, but I didn't give up on the process because I knew that the growth that I needed, I wasn't going to get in a textbook. I was going to have to live out 2 lives to get it in an experience, right? But I knew if I could channel in on someone else's experience and really hone it in, I could really benefit my own growth as well as the people that I was going to lead. And yes, that was a good move for me because eventually I did become a grant maker. So it did align, it did align with what I wanted. But what I'd like to talk to you about a little bit later on is my second experience with mentorship, because I think it is where I began to plug in to that whole connection of, hey, here is my emotion. How am I going to react? Am I going to be in the moment, or am I going to allow my emotions to take precedence, to lead the way? And that's a skill set that I couldn't learn for myself. I had to let somebody help me learn that along the way. And it was very beneficial. So
before you kind of get ready to segue into the next section, what would you say to someone that's watching right now, no matter what level? Because I believe mentorship doesn't end. As you continue to go to the next level, it just keeps going. So what would you say to people at, I guess, various levels, whether it's starting the nonprofit journey, maybe been in a nonprofit for years? What advice would you give when it comes to mentorship or continuing to just make sure that we keep mentors in our lives to be able to grow to the next level?
When you're in the executive, when you're in the I would say management, or you're just starting out a nonprofit, in terms of leadership, your mentorship can come from many different places and it can look very different. One way of mentorship is utilizing the people that you selected on your board as mentors. Like a mentorship could be something as simple as a consistent, constant 10 to 20 minute meeting once a month or once a quarter with somebody who's interested in hearing some of the challenges that you're having and willing to give you positive feedback. That's all you need, and sometimes in the beginning. But sometimes mentorship can be more detailed. You could need mentorship around a specific area within your organization that you really need to hone in. And maybe you don't need to become an expert. Maybe you just need to be good enough to be dangerous in the area. And so that mentorship could be something around specific. It could be around fund development. It could be around marketing. It could be around time management. So that could be a level of mentorship that you may need. So mentorship can be wide ranging, and it also can be general and direct. It's really up to you to evaluate what your real need is. Mentorship, I guess in the 21st century, is more coaching. We call it coaching now. Sometimes we need a coach. Sometimes we need somebody to talk us through what it would look like when we get to the end. Because sometimes being successful means starting at the end and working our way back. And that's the process. And people who are in a nonprofit understand about processes, right? So I just think there's so many different ways you could do mentorship, but I do think the value of it and the value of connecting it with emotional intelligence really brings about your strongest leadership skills. And it brings about the most value that you can offer to your team.
Right. Love it. Love it. And I love that you said that pretty much mentorship looks different. So even in the nonprofit realm, all your mentors do not have to be in nonprofit. They can be and they probably should be, just like how your board should be diversified, your mentors should be diversified as well.
Well, that whole board is a whole different kind of conversation.
I know. I know. I know. We're not gonna get into it, but but that diversification, and you don't want all mentors from one area.
Yes. And that's why I could honestly say, over the course of my career, I had 3 different mentors, because at those stages of my career, I needed something different. So they were all offered what they could in the time that I was mentored with them. But, I needed something different as I began to grow, as the environment that I was operating in began to change. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is just kind of being reflective across your career. You know, to be quite honest, in my career, I really was very intentional about everything that I did. You know, every lesson that I wanted to learn. My career was, if I wanted to be an executive director, I had to learn this, and this to do it. If I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be the vice president of fund development and philanthropy, I needed to have this experience behind me. And I did all of
Mm-hmm.
those things to ensure that I got to those spaces. Yeah, it took me a while to get there, and it was an uphill battle. But what it was ultimately preparing me for is to be out on my own, to be my own executive leader, to have
Mm-hmm.
my own shop to run. And that was my ultimate goal. And I think that if people are more intentional about their mentorships and more intentional about what personal growth that they need in order to get to the next level, I think the road would be much easier, and you can come back and
Mm-hmm.
tell the story, and you could share with folks how to get there themselves. And I think, you know, that's kind of the way that I did. All that I learned through my mentorship, I felt good about, because I was able to pass that on to young people like you, Lasheena. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it
And
was
I'm
really
grateful
cool.
for that. Look, I'm
Yes.
grateful for all your mentors. See, it's like a full cycle, you know, it just keeps
Yeah.
going. And I'm grateful for that. If you all are loving and enjoying the conversation, please give us a heart, a like. You know, if you have any questions, drop them in there. Anything you want to add to the conversation, drop it in the chat box. This is really good. And a topic, as we get ready to go into the next year, let's think about this. What is the next level for us personally and for our organization? And then what does mentorship look like to support us in that? Just think about that. Let's make that one of our, when we're making our resolution, and we're going to, you know, we end our lives all with homework, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but you know, I just want you all to start thinking about, when we're making our resolutions for our nonprofits and for ourselves, let's put mentorship on there as well. So yeah, I love it.
I wanted to share with you a story, you know, really what happened to me. I got into a mentor relationship. It was brand new. And at the time, I was doing community building.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was developing community coalitions throughout the county at the time. And so appropriately, I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity for mentorship to come from a city manager from one of the cities that I was doing the coalition work in. So, you know, just drawing the connections, trying to get the growth, trying to get the experience. And I thought that I was going in this mentor relationship to learn about city operations and how I can help my community coalitions operate within them much better. But I was going to take the personal hit and say, hey, can you mentor me? You know, and that was going to be my connection point, because it was a part of my overall success plan.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really what I got in that experience.
Mm-hmm.
What I got in that experience was a city manager, after only agreeing to be my mentor for 2 weeks, get hit with finance director misappropriation of funds.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I like to tell this story because it really reflects how emotional intelligence plays a significant role. They were hit with, were you a part of it? You're the city manager, your finance director has stolen money, and now the city is in complete turmoil. And in her face, she has the residents, city leadership, but then she has her staff. And the newspaper, the news trucks, I mean, it was that kind of scandal.
Wow. Wow.
And so I tell that story because during that period, they did not stop mentoring me. So every other week I was down at their office and I'm listening to all of this going on. I'm watching on the news, I'm reading on the newspaper. But what I saw was somebody who operated with grace under fire.
Wow.
And that interested me. I wanted to know how you were being attacked. You were getting phone calls at home. You were being accused of things that you knew weren't true, but you still were grace under fire. And I wanted to know how they were able to do that. And that's how I was introduced to emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her not only manage the city
Mm-hmm.
and manage the residents, but do a woman's job at being empathetic with her staff and understanding how her staff may feel under something of that nature, and being able to still operate a top-notch city governmental operation under that kind of stress and that power, and to keep the morale in her staff was really done because of her level of capacity and emotional intelligence. Yes, she lost a job. Yes, they got another city manager, another finance director. Yes, she went on to do great things. But the ability to watch and to see someone have that much, better choice of word, that much heat, and to be able to walk through that with that level of emotional intelligence while still mentoring someone, sharing those experiences, what that looked like, what that felt like for her, and then being able to imagine what that looked like and what that felt like for the city, for the staff, and then be able to respond to that brought the greatest value to that community. I think is my biggest example of how emotional intelligence play a significant role in leadership, and how sometimes we don't get to see that in our own lives. So if that happened to me, I've watched that. I've seen that. I've been able to witness that, and I'm able to take those skills, those lessons, and be able to incorporate them in my life. And so if I should ever have scenarios of that magnitude. And so that's why I guess I'll always say, like, if you're coming up on your New Year's resolution, if you hadn't had a mentor experience, or you haven't had much experience with even talking about how emotional intelligence plays into leadership, I think this is a great time to reflect and take a look at where you stand and who could really help you get to the next level. It is a commitment on your part. It is sometimes running them down, but I promise you, the value in it is great. The value in it not only helps you with your leadership skills, but the people that you're working with, the people that you need to be champions and about your mission, it helps them as well. So, I just wanted to share that. Now, Lasheena, I know at Nonprofit Enthusiast, we offer a whole bunch of different kind of categories where we're not necessarily mentoring, but we do offer coaching, right?
Yep, that is absolutely right. I mean, and we do offer through various ways one-on-one group coaching programs that can be done in a group setting. You get to speak with us, the team here, along with some of our other senior consultants on the team, to receive that along the way. Something that you said that I just kind of want to go back to really quick while you were talking. You learned a lesson in that situation. And you know what that says? As a mentee, we have to have a certain mindset as well. Because I'm sure she was going through it and continuing to mentor you, but she wasn't thinking about the lessons, I assume, that you were kind of grabbing from it. She probably knew, like, I want him to see the journey and see what happened, but didn't know that you were collecting all of this, like how you were kind of, it sounds like, admiring her for still being able to mentor you through this. So if we can just talk really quick about the mindset of a mentee.
Well, that was 25 years ago, and that still is resonant in my mind. I still think about that experience. And I think the first part of when I first started out mentoring, I think that was it. I had to kind of figure that it was the networking thing, because it takes a level of humility. If I had not convinced myself that it was about networking, maybe I wouldn't have taken advantage of it, to be quite honest with you. I just thought it was to expand my network. And maybe a lot of people decide on that reason. But once I got into it, I just learned that it was something different. It was something much more that could be much more prevalent in my growth, and the attitude that I had, I came in with a lot of humility. Like I could have all the titles and the zeros behind my salary, but if I didn't have the skill set to be able to manage people in the capacity that you really get success in the team dynamics, then all of that would be for nothing. I could never really aspire to be the greatest, not the greatest, but at least great at what I do, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's not enough for, I guess, for me to be just good. You know, it's always that thing to be great, because I don't think you come to nonprofit because it's a job that it's just a job. But when you come to nonprofit because you're called, and usually stay, you might come because you think it's a great job, but you'll stay because you're called. And I don't think you come to that knowledge and that experience at the mentee stage or the early stage. I think that's something you grow towards, right?
Yeah.
And I grew to that, and I was, no matter what, humble. And so I came into those scenarios humble. I came in those scenarios willing to listen, right? And not willing to be, which I can be naturally pedantic, but but not willing to always question what I was learning. I was just a sponge. I was just soaking it in. I had a level of humility that was very high. And I was hungry for the information. And I started benefiting from the experience immediately. And I think that helped too.
That's awesome. And sometimes through the mentorship process too, we have to be patient. Because I'm thinking of that mindset of a mentee, because we might not get, and sometimes this is intentional. We might not get, and that's why I kind of did a post the other day about trust the process, because you're probably not going to get everything that you're looking for from that mentor in one sitting.
No.
And if you did, you will probably run away. Just because it's a lot. You got to trust that process as a mentee,
Listen, I had a mentor that said, when you come to our mentee sessions, have your agenda ready.
Wow.
Yes. Have your agenda
prepared and ready.
Come prepared for what you want to get out the session.
I love it.
Yeah, so I had that, and that's why I think the different experience of mentees at the different stages of your growth is important. I'm not saying that you should end the relationship. I didn't. I still have a relationship with my mentees, my mentors. But I do think the different experiences do help, because that was like tough. Like every time I had to come up with that agenda, it was tough. But what made it make sense is because at every session when I had to come up with that agenda, it's something that I left at that last session that I needed just a little bit more of. And so I would add that onto the next agenda. So it really did kind of work itself out. But just to think you had to come prepared, like with your own agenda for somebody who's supposed to be mentoring you, that's different.
Yep.
That's different.
And you just got to trust that when you're working with different mentors, you just got to go with it, just work through it. Everyone has their own strategy and way of doing things. And as mentees, we got to kind of just, work, not expect everything at once.
No, I don't think you're going to get everything at once. So first and foremost, you don't always know what you want until you get into these sessions.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
One of my mentors taught me this as well, which was big for me in terms of emotional intelligence. And I live by this. This is my code, right? There's more than one right answer.
That's true.
That
is so true.
Being a leader and having emotional intelligence, you have to know that there is more than one right answer, right? Your right answer may be right, but somebody else's answer may be right as well. It's up to us to make the determination of how we're going to move it or move forward. Because if you don't develop that and you are single-minded, then you're not in a team.
That's
you're
true.
working solo. So if I can say that those are two great things that I learned around emotional intelligence is, like there's more than one right answer. Like I think that has lasted me for a lifetime as well. And when I get in those situations, I start to even say that to myself, well, I know there's more than one right answer. Now, how am I going to manage it? How I'm going to manage this situation, how I'm going to manage these folks when I know that there's more than one right answer. I believe my answer is right, but how do I manage that? That's the key, right? Like when we talk about marketing and using, acronyms, we know that there's more than one right
Here
answer.
we go.
But, I just want to throw that out there because, in reality, that's, a key components, key value that I took out of the mentorship relationships, and with it having emotional intelligence layered on it, really helped me grow fast, and in terms of my career, in terms of getting to where I wanted to be. Yeah. And in 2014, I was so ready. In 2014, I was so ready. I was so prepared that I was able to take the leap. I was able to leave out of nonprofit in terms of working as a career and start my own. And that was instrumental. But to be able to have done that, it was all the work before, so.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's hop into so you already dropped the tip. And I know we got actually plenty of tips that kind of went through. So let's go through some of some tips you want, that those listening to know about mentorship. So, I know we kind of talked about having the ability to show empathy towards others, with leadership. What's some other tips that we want to leave others with?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking. My bad.
No. What's some other? Let's go over. I just want to do kind of like a wrap up. Each of these, we'd like to kind of leave some tips, something to kind of just walk away with. Of course, we shared so much different,
No.
Here.
I understand. Yeah. No, definitely. I definitely want to share some tips. Yeah, the ability to show empathy is definitely one.
Yeah.
Also, the ability to lean into others' feelings. And their perspectives, is which I just talked about. The ability to know that there's more than one right answer, I think is very important. Taking an interest in other people's concerns, I think that's important too. Sometimes we get so busy and caught up, Lasheena, we don't often stop, take a deep breath, and listen to the concerns of others. And I think that's a real strong component. We may not agree, we may not go along, but sometimes the ability to listen really goes a long way. Being watchful of others' feelings during challenging and situations, you're in situations, and that folks are struggling. Don't just say, okay, they can manage it. Sometimes, pop your head in the door, sometimes a quick email, anything, to let them know, hey, look, I know we all are going through this together. And I know you're struggling. Sometimes just to be there with folks on your team is enough. Because it does, listen, even the best made plans fail. We used to do events, Lasheena, 300, 400, 500 people at these fundraising events. And I got to tell you, at every one of these events, I did it for 6 years. At every one of these events, something happened.
That's true.
Something went wrong.
Yep.
And, it was because sometimes of my ability to lean in to staff and to lean into the people that were on my team. It helped us say, hey, yeah, it went wrong, but we were able to carry off a good event, and not everybody knew what went wrong. So, sometimes it's just the ability to kind of lean in, and when you're connected like that, things can happen, but you're so on it to really, at the end of the day, nobody knows except you.
Right.
And I think being self-aware, that's it. I try to tell young leaders, get some rest. Rest. What's that, Lasheena, right?
No, I'm joking.
No, Lasheena is the young people that I talk to all the time. No, I do think that you have to be self-aware. You really have to take the time out, do your me time, make sure that if you have spouse, that your spouses are happy. Because look, you can have all of this, you could be VP, you could be president, you could be executive director, but if all that other stuff goes away, you really haven't done your best. You really haven't made the success that you think you have. The key to it is to juggle it all, to balance it all, to have your life. Because look, your whole goal when you're in a nonprofit is to improve somebody else's life, right? You got to make sure yours is good too now, right? If you're on an airplane, Lasheena, and you run into some turbulence, and you have your kid on the plane with you, or your elderly parent, and the oxygen mask drop down, who do you put the oxygen mask on first?
You got to put it on yourself first. Yep.
Right?
That's true.
You got to take care of yourself
so
in order to be able to take care of others. So being self-aware with constant inward evaluations of your own emotions and behaviors is really key. How you act around your staff and your team, they will mimic. They will copy it. So
That's
your
true.
behaviors are on spotlight every single moment that you're in their presence. So I would say those are some real tips that you can take, that you can use as you're dealing with your team, as you're growing yourself, and as you're looking at your own emotional intelligence, your behaviors, and how that you like to communicate that to your team.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, I see you, Dolly. You said me time is super important. I agree as well. And that's probably one of the other resolutions we need to write down as nonprofit professionals, is having time and being intentional about our self-care and taking care of ourselves. So yes, I definitely agree. All right.
Oh, I was just going to
go
say,
ahead. No, go ahead.
I would also say that it also rolls into that sense of incompletes too. Like when you don't take care of yourself, when you don't calendar the work that you're supposed to do, it's hard for you to do self-care, because it's hard for you to get the sleep that you needed, because everything that you're thinking about, everything that you're experiencing, you're running the tape in your head. So I always also suggest, in terms of emotional intelligence, is to get your rest, right? And to make sure that you're not living in this sense of incomplete. If you have projects coming up, schedule the time that you're going to work on the projects. Put that in your schedule. So we'll get to that one day, maybe when we talk about time management.
Yes.
But I did want to share that you have to be self-aware. You have to do self-care in order to be at your best in terms of emotional intelligence. So
I definitely agree. So we got 2 resolutions going on: making sure that we have self-care on there for ourselves, being intentional and not letting that go. And then the second one is adding mentorship as a component, looking at how, where we are currently, how we want to get to the next level, and then what mentors or, we want to kind of invite into our journeys. So that's homework number 1. And then and another way that you can also get involved is sign up for our Cheer On program. We are launching our Cheer On program. Our next, it'll be happening on January 18th will be the first session. If you can't attend them, that's okay, because we have recordings available. And because we're getting ready for this new year, we have a special promotion for you all. For if you use the code New Year on our website, when you go to register for the Cheer On program, you'll get 20% off. You definitely want to be in this group, y'all. It's just a group of other nonprofit leaders, all of us looking to grow until the next level, support one another on there, and then have conversations like these and holding each other accountable. As far as what's to come, y'all, and I have to kind of take a look. So, in the group, we were at, I believe we were like in the 190. So one of our goals, I could say one of my personal goals, because I make, many goals like these, is to get, I think we were at like 194, is to get to 200 by January 1st. Can y'all help me with that? Just get to 200. What's that? 6 more people? Invite more people to the group. Can we get to 200 by the new year, y'all? So please take a moment, invite your friends, your family to the group. And the reason why I really push inviting others. Oh, we're at 203. All right, Dolly. Yes.
Your wish was answered.
Y'all did it. Yay. Let's celebrate. I'm so, because honestly, yesterday I was like, we got to get it. And the reason why we want to grow the group, we don't want to hold this information as a secret. We want everyone to just know about it and just be able to support each other along the journey. So the more people that we're able to invite into the group, the more people we're able to learn from, and then the more people that's able to get, this information that we share. So yay, we hit our goal. That is so exciting. Okay, great way to start off the new year. Thank y'all. I'm so excited. Okay, so next month, just so you all know what's to come, next month, our focus is going to be leadership and board development, along with the introduction to nonprofit. So just so you all know, each month we have a theme. If you're a newer organization and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I got so much to do, I don't know where to start, let me tell you, an easy way to do it is follow our theme. If next month is leadership and board development, focus yourself on, I'm going to focus on the leaders and board developments of my organization. If you follow our themes each month, that will help you. The other thing is, you'll notice that we have our accountability posts, y'all. Please We're gonna be asking you what's your January goals. Post your January goals in there. And yes, I am gonna hound you and ask you, how are your goals going? Because some of you from December probably didn't expect me to come back and say what's going on, how those goals are going. We can hold each other accountable right here in the group. So when we post that, think about what your January goals are, respond to it. Let's hold each other accountable. The other thing about it, you never know if someone in the group has the resource to get you to where your goal needs to go. So if you put it out there, you have a whole group here to support you. So please use that. And then next week's live, you definitely want to tune in, invite your friends into the group. We have a special announcement coming in. So next Thursday, we'll be getting on live and having a special announcement. So make sure you invite all your friends to the group by then. So that way they have an opportunity to participate. So, all right. So anything else before I close out, Mr. Toliver?
No, other than I had a great time. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And we look forward to doing this. We're going to be on together more often. So you'll see us kind of talking about different topics. Next month, we'll be here talking about leadership and board development. And I just want to take a moment and thank our sponsor once again, Complex 7. Please check them out, www.complex7.com. I hope you all have a fabulous day and Happy New Year's to everyone. All right. Bye, everyone.